they inspired me to do some of the things that I do. And that's what my legacy, if I had a legacy that I want people to remember me by, is that I gave more than I ever needed anyone to give me in life, that I had surplus, more than surplus, due to my hard work and the people that I surrounded myself with, and never quitting, have opened the doors and the floodgates for me to have more opportunity than I ever dreamed possible. I couldn't dream this big. And I'm very thankful. I'm very appreciative of every opportunity I have. And that's why I want to give back. And, the reason I jumped into SEALs in Recovery after, you came to help protect our company.
All right. Good morning, John Hawley, SEALs Recovery. I am still an alcoholic. If you're watching this, please hit subscribe and give us as many stars as you can. It'll help the algorithm with more people seeing this podcast, and hopefully helping some more people in recovery and find their way to sober living. Today, I have Ernest Lopez on, and Ernest's become a very, very good friend. I had met Ernest professionally through a colleague of mine in Washington. I was attending a ceremony. He was a hostage in Iran, and it was a celebratory ceremony for him being released from Iran. And me and Ernie got to talking about some other things besides our good friend being released from Iran. And we talked about some work things, and we discovered there might be a synergy to work together. And we started working together. And as we broke down that barrier for just a business-to-business relationship, we started talking about, our personal stories. And I find Ernie's story both compelling, fascinating, the ability to overcome, adapt, and have success in life. And most importantly, with that success, Ernie pays it forward every single day to other people. And during the podcast, I will point out some things that I've witnessed personally, Ernie has done for other people. Ernie is a huge supporter and one of the original supporters of SEALs in Recovery. Ernie was instrumental in raising money to facilitate things like this, the podcast. He has ponied up cash to buy swag that we give out to donors, T-shirts, backpacks, and he's made this basically all possible with SEALs in Recovery to gain some actually traction in the marketplace of recovery and expanding our message to folks that actually need it. So Ernie, tell us a little about yourself. Tell us where you grew up. We'll start where you grew up, and then we'll talk about your family life.
My name is Ernest T. Lopez III.
Go ahead.
I'm an Army brat. My dad, was a lifelong service member, special operator in the United States Army, Airborne Ranger, Special Forces, traveled around the world. Needless to say, my dad was a Vietnam veteran. He fought in Vietnam, had 3 tours there, did, Cambodia, Cuba, Santo Domingo, and spent a lot of time away. So I know what it's like to have I didn't realize my dad was quite the warrior that he was until I, got a little older. But I sure did, have those countless days waiting on my dad to return from war. So, and I witnessed that, and it was a great upbringing. There's nothing like him bringing some fatigues home for me and my cousin to wear when we were little young rascals running around the apartments at my grandparents' apartments.
So it's very typical as a retired SEAL operator. It's very typical for your dad not to say anything he does until you find out much later in life what he did. My wife never knew much about what I did till she went to my retirement, and people wanted to chirp and say some things, some smart ass stuff and operational things. But my wife, I didn't have older kids at that time, but it's very, very common for the veteran not to bring that stuff home.
Yeah, my dad didn't talk about it. We had kind of had to pry it out of him. Really didn't keep any weapons around the house. He just was cool, calm, and collective. pretty strict. Made sure that we all knew what police call meant. So, we got out there and picked up trash around the house and kept everything squared away. So he kept pretty much tight ship. And you always knew where you stood.
Was he a first generation American or second?
He was born in Cuba.
Okay.
And so, when Castro took power and things were hitting the fan, him and his family moved to Ybor City down in Tampa.
I know exactly where it is.
Migrated to Key West, and started at Lopez Terrazzo in construction. We went to Key West High School. He's also memorialized in a park out there at Key West on the wall for Vietnam veterans, and it was really good to see that. I traveled back there this about 2 years ago, and got to witness it firsthand and see my dad on the wall. So that was a pretty proud moment for me.
How about your siblings? What's the age difference of your siblings, brothers, sisters, and where you fall in the pecking order?
I am, I got an older stepsister.
Mm-hmm.
I got a younger stepbrother and a younger stepsister. So, I think I'm a couple, 3 or 4 years younger than my oldest, and about 6, 7 years older than the middle child. So I'm number 2 in the ranks of 4.
Gotcha. Could we get into, and you can get in, as deep as you want with this, and I know your story and it's compelling. It's very compelling, your ability to survive. Can we talk about, the relationship or the non-relationship with your mom and your schooling and how school helped you, connectivity and where you are now? But can we talk about your childhood, you winding up in a boarding school and how that whole thing went and how you turned this whole thing into a positive experience with what you do as a father, what you do as a business owner, what you do as a great American. It's an amazing story to me.
Yeah. So, my dad got, went on a tour to Vietnam, working there, and, things didn't work out with my mom back in 1969. She didn't have the ability, to take care of 2 kids. So I think she found herself in a situation where she needed a little bit of freedom. She was ready to move to Berkeley, California, and so she, up and behold, put us on a plane. Luckily, my dad's parents, Ernest T. Lopez, number 1, and my grandmother took us in boarding while my dad was in Vietnam doing his, probably his first tour, second tour, something like that. And so, we were dropped off there, and, she went on and done her thing. And, she, you just don't know where anybody is. So, was she a bad mom? No. Was she confused? Yes. Did she have some other things that she needed to take care of? It all worked out in the end. And my dad always taught us to, have a high level of respect for her. Remember, you can't pick your parents, so you get what you get. And, if I waited for her till about the 9th grade, then I figured out that she wasn't coming to pick me back up. So, I didn't really have a mother's love. So not anybody that does have a mom that loves them, you need to cherish it. No matter how bad or how good they are, just cherish the fact that somebody cares, and you get that hug, or you get that love that mom can provide you. So I think it's something near and dear to my heart. Anytime Mother's Days roll around, I celebrate my wife, her mom, and other mothers that are around us, because pretty tough thing to be a mom. So I've got a lot of respect for any moms that stick it out and do it. Not that never said a bad thing about my mom. A lot of people, or my sister may have had some a little different challenges. She was a little older, and so she she perhaps had a different view than I did, but nonetheless, I didn't let it cause me to have a different view. I just wanted to keep the view that I had.
Right.
And moving on, living down in Miami, we had just gotten back from Germany. Got back to Miami, getting a little older, figured out my mom's not coming to pick up. My dad's being a hard ass. Needed some other type. I was looking, I'm maturing and needing some more opportunity, anxious, ADD, the whole 9 yards, move out with my grandmother out in North Carolina. Check that out. She's like, oh, wow, this is too much. So she was like, well, let me take you over here to the social worker, and we're going to find you a place because we're way too old to take you. And I was like, wow, didn't realize that. So, talked to a little counselor and got the opportunity and got introduced to Riverside Military Academy up in Gainesville, Georgia.
How old were you then, Ernie?
I believe I was a ninth grader.
Right. So 13 or 14.
Yep. So, got the opportunity, got introduced, and next thing you know it, got the opportunity to go to the school. They put me on a plane, flew to Georgia, took the Greyhound bus, got dropped off at the center, and it's like, okay, there's no cell phones, no pagers, no nothing.
Smoke signals.
Yeah. So you get dropped off in Gainesville, Georgia. You got to take a taxi over to the school. And, I realized really fast how much easier I had it at home than I had it at Riverside Military Academy, because everybody comes in there single file. They chop your hair, give you some uniforms, and you're a new guy just going through. There's 500 guys. And you got to build some character. You got to listen up, get in there with some of the older fellas and figure out what you need to do and how you need to do it, so you can be uncommon and run up the ladder as quickly as you can to get in some type of orderly fashion, so you can make something out of yourself.
Yeah, of course. So I have a couple of questions. One I'm going to circle back to was you had said earlier that you and your siblings have a little bit of a different lens how you look at life with your parents or parenting. I find that very interesting because my memories are totally different, or my perception of growing up was totally different from my brothers and my sisters. And for me, it was very helpful to talk to my brothers and sisters after I got sober and had some counseling and things like that, to actually talk to them about what their perception was. And, my perception wasn't always correct, is what I thought. So for me, it was very interesting to talk to my brother and sister about what it actually was and transpired. And, for me, it's only been in the last, 8, 9, 10 years, man. I'm 61, that I have some of the anger is dissipated from how I grew up and what I thought I might have been owed. And I did fine. I went in the Navy, EOD, and SEAL, and did the stuff you do, I do now. But at what point in life did you look back and say, well, my mother did the best she could. My father did the best he can, and I'm going to let it go, and I'm going to just go on my life? Because I think that's a remarkable quality that you have, to have that maturity to say that, and not throw shade at your parents or anything. Because I'm going through some stuff now with the realization my mother was an alcoholic more than I knew growing up, because of the therapy I'm going through. And the reframing has been very, very hard to look at your childhood and know that, well, my parent might have chose alcohol or leaving, instead of advocating for me as a child. I know what kind of a parent you are. I know what you do for your kids. So I guess in some way, what kind of parent I am, that some way we figured out how to break that chain.
Well, looking back now, I can tell you, I was the kid less likely to succeed. I was kind of the kid that was really ADD. They didn't know what that was about. They didn't medicate you back then. They just, they whipped your ass, and, they kept you in line, put you in punishment. So I served a lot of hours on punishment on my knees, up against the wall. and, it was kind of tough. And it was early on, I figured out that there was people within your family that were favorites, and they were treated differently. And, I didn't understand what I did wrong, to be treated, a little bit differently. But I was the guy that they less likely thought that would succeed. They thought I was a little, not as smart, that pick up on stuff, and always in the way. And I was always in the way because I was always trying to help. I wanted to help my grandfather. If I got an opportunity to go to work, I wanted him to be proud. I needed some sense of somebody being proud of what I was doing day in, day out, and sometimes getting in trouble. At least they were paying attention to me at that point. I made enough noise where they had to, react, and I got a little bit of attention. Otherwise, didn't feel like I got a whole lot of attention, which was okay. Looking back, it caused me to have to try harder than anybody else. So when I was set out in life at military school, I had to try harder than anybody else. And anything I've ever tried to do, I had to work harder in every aspect. I was not gifted with talent. I was not gifted with I wasn't smarter than anybody else. I struggled with arithmetic. I struggled with reading. I struggled with writing. I struggled with a lot of things that just did not come easy for me. And I didn't get all straight A's in school. I got, I barely made made enough grades so I wouldn't have to go to summer school. And so everything has always been hard to do, even in being an athlete, wrestling, playing football. I never rose to the top because I was the most athletic person. I had to work harder, and everything was a challenge. And it's not a bad thing if you grow up and you're challenged. I was told, I think I was told yesterday by you, that pressure turns things into diamonds.
It does. Yep. Pressure makes diamonds.
That's right.
This is so ironic. So I was sitting having some coffee with my wife, listen to my Merlin app. If you don't have the Merlin app, you got to get it. So Merlin is an app where you download, it's free, and they collect your data, but it's a listening device to listen to bird sounds, and then it lists what birds are in your yard. It's fascinating. It's really fast. But anyways, I
need that because I don't know how many millions of birds I have on the 200-acre farm.
You should definitely get it, man. I get a cup of coffee, I put the device on, and I see, woodpecker, sparrow, crow, you name it. It's fascinating. But anyways, I'm sitting doing that with my wife last night, and we were just talking about, and my wife's had some challenges too, like me and you. And the kids are innocent, man. Kids are innocent. Yep. And when you're not getting that attention, and I don't want to fucking blow it up and cry here, but when you're a kid and you're an innocent child and something's not going your way or you're not treated fairly, you think it's your fault. And it's not. You're an innocent kid.
Yep.
It's up.
Yep. That's why, I'm on the board of Riverside Military Academy.
Yeah.
I got the opportunity to take some funds that were probably set aside, or I had to go out and work for to help a couple of my nephews. I sent 3 nephews through Riverside Military Academy. One had lost his father through addiction, and he was also a former military Air Force. The cousin that got treated better, in our relationship, and was smarter, more athletic, and everything. Unfortunately, and I looked up to him, even though he got all those things. As a child, unfortunately, through all the stuff that he had seen and all the stuff that he had been through, his addiction ended up taking him out. And he lost the best part of life, which was to be able to watch his kids grow up, look at his grandchildren, and now I'm there in his place, trying to compensate wherever I can for his 2 daughters and his son. So, I got the opportunity at 10th grade to bring his son to Riverside Military Academy. He came in as a 11th grader, and it was just a wonderful thing to put him through Riverside Military Academy and watch him grow. And I knew that there were some monumental men like yourself, Johnny, at this military academy that had been through the service and wanted to give back to the community. And he had these monumental guys that he joined the Raider team. He wasn't going to come back because of the Raider team, and they taught him how not to quit. And they taught him that he meant something, and that he struggles as well with a little bit of OCD or ADD, something like that, and he has to take a little medication. His dream was to be a Navy SEAL, and unfortunately, because of the medication, he just was not able to pass the test to go through the military program because of having to take that medication. But I want you to know,
it might not be available downrange. Yeah, I think it's. I don't know if I like that rule or not, but yeah.
A great kid, tries harder than anybody. But you know what, he went into a selfless service job. He's in Navarre Beach, Florida, and he came to work for me after he figured out that the pandemic was brutal. After he graduated, he came over there and worked with me at the airport and stuff like that. And I said, I really want to be a paramedic. I can't go into service, but I want to serve others. I want to help people, and I think I have something to add. So he packed up his bags, left the family business, went to Pensacola and Navarre Beach, and he graduated as a paramedic, and he's serving, every day, going out there to try to help somebody. And so wasn't able to be a SEAL, but he is saving lives and helping people, and that is my cousin's first boy is doing a great job. Couldn't be prouder of him. In fact, I don't hear from him every day or once a month, or it could be 4 months, but he reaches out just the other day and was very appreciative of all the kind words, the opportunity to go to that school, and what it meant for him to have somebody, back him up when he needed somebody, a father figure in his life, and do something that's uncommon, do the right thing, go to school, stay out of trouble. Because, at that 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, you really need some direction. You need somebody, pushing you. You need somebody encouraging you, that even though you doubt yourself, to be able to do something, that you could cross that line. And whether he was the most athletic, maybe he, whether I knew he was smart, he was great at swimming, and he liked the band. And, I really wanted him to play football, play baseball, or wrestle. And, he didn't want to do those things. And, I had to tell myself that that's okay. Being in the band's pretty cool too. And being a swimmer is pretty cool too. But swimming, kind of coincide with SEAL team. Then he joined the Raider team, and he almost quit and didn't want to do the Raider team. And, he came back, did it, and he ended up being a national champion, wearing a national champion ring. Who wouldn't have died to have a national champion ring in high school?
In anything, yeah.
Raider Challenge. This is a military training program, and taught him teamwork, taught him, a lot of things that he had to learn to be a good soldier citizen going forward. And thanks to Colonel Payne and Sergeant Major Sosa. They both embraced this kid and helped build a fine young man. And Colonel Payne's the one that helped us make the coins for SEALs in recovery, and misery's optional.
Yeah, t-shirt.
He's very, very inspirational, trying to help us do that, and very appreciative for what those guys did for me. Well, I'm on the outside, and they were on the inside of this academy. And then, I had another nephew, left in Mexico, was born in the United States, 7th grade, needing some guidance and some help. The guy couldn't even speak English. But I talked to his mom, told her about this military school. I said the difference between myself and all my siblings and my cousins was Riverside Military Academy. The discipline there, the ability to communicate with people from all over the world, giving you opportunity to come out of your shell and be able to communicate with people from all likes of a life. They sent him here at 7th grade. He learned English. He adapted. He adjusted. He's serving in the United States Army right now, following my father's footsteps, and has been in there about 3.5 years. Couldn't be prouder of that young man. Was able to he able to do some things that perhaps he wouldn't have got otherwise. It was traditional that any one of my kids that graduated, they got a pickup truck. We had a little Toyota pickup truck. I didn't want him to feel any different than any of my kids because his father was absent and his mother, living in Mexico, couldn't contribute a whole lot. But so we gave him this truck, and he had no license. So he had to join the military, figure out how to get a license, and we had to practice driving. And he got some driving ability and driving some more ability to learn how to drive in the military, driving a Hummer. And so he came back to Georgia to finally pick up his truck after he's fully engaged in the military. I sent him with a driver. He had never driven cross country. He had to drive all the way from Loganville, Georgia, to Louisiana to base out there. And so I sent him with another friend of mine's son that went to military school with us, and to work out of town with us. So he took him, and the rest is history.
He's definitely a grinder. You could hear that. And I use that as a segue with and you talk about your cousin that was smarter, bigger, stronger, faster, and he succumbed, unfortunately, to, I don't know, alcohol or drugs. And I could make an analogy to sports and with our kids' sports. You have the blue chip kids that are going to get the full ride. They're going to get drafted in the first 3 rounds. Then you have everybody else that then you have that middle section of kids that absolutely love what they're doing, and they got to grind like you did. Wasn't the best student, wasn't the best athlete. You rose to the top because of your work ethic. And that's to me, in my course of my life and interacting with people and people that have made it. I know some blue chip people, and they're phenomenal and very grateful, but most of the people I associate have made it on their own, they're grinders. Then you have the third section of people that have been told their whole life they're the best. And then everybody catches up. They might have had some talent early, but they didn't keep working on their craft. And then everybody catches up to them, and they don't know how to grind. They don't know how to grind because they never had to grind. And then they fall off, and they're either out of the sport, they hit the bottle, they hit drugs. But it's interesting for that person, male or female, that's been told to have all of this talent, and it came really easy at a younger age till those grinders catch up, and now they're looking, wow, that kid hits the ball farther than me. Wow, that kid's got a better double. Like, wow, that kid's 60 is way better than mine. I used to be the best at it. And they don't know how to deal with it because they know how to work. So I really, I think it's a premium in life to have to grind and to work for what you have. I really, really do. I mean, I see you work every day with BLR, your company, your your truck stops, what you do, for everybody else outside of your family, including SEALs in recovery. But what do you think about that analogy with, the blue chip, the grinders, and the kid that said everybody told him he was going to be the best, and he winds up not being the best?
Well, I think that, if you are given God-given talent and you are given, ability to be faster, stronger, everything, to your point, if you don't continue to put forth the effort and continue to separate yourself from everybody, the guy that nobody knows is going to come out, and he's going to, well, while you're out partying or while you're out, enjoying all the fanfare and everything like that, somebody's going to sneak up. The nobody from nowhere is just going to come up and be something. He's going to make a name for himself. He's going to work harder than you, and he's going to pass you. And he may still not have quite the talent that you have, but he's going to continue to open doors. And he won't ever look back. So we got to look forward. Can't look in the rearview mirror and be all sad about the things that happen or the lack of talent you have. You just got to continue to strive, and don't listen to the naysayers, and continue to work hard, and you can persevere. And the other thing I tell people is that the worst thing you can do is quit. The worst thing, it's one thing to go a different direction. It's another thing to quit, and just because you don't know how close you are to crossing the finish line and having the greatest victory you've ever had, when you stop 1 foot short of crossing the finish line, and all this, your whole life could have been changed. So you got to keep grinding. You got to know what's right. You got to know what's wrong. And you got to persevere no matter what.
How did you, I know how I did it. And you kind of mentioned it a little bit. My upbringing, dad left when I was very young, was very abusive. My mother died in high school, and that's fine. I covered down and took care of what I needed to take care of. And you had a similar situation. What tools did you use to not focus on your, basically, I'm not going to say meager is not a right word, because you had opportunity, got to where you needed to be, but what kept that positive focus moving forward, moving through, buying your first dump truck and your first roller or paver, whatever you call it, and not looking back and not being the victim and saying, well, you know what, if I don't amount to nothing, well, I didn't have nothing growing up. How did you keep that positive mentality when things weren't great? Because it's so easy to look back and be the victim, which me and you don't do. But what did you use as far as tools to maintain that front sight focus?
Well, first thing you need to figure out in life is what you want to be, and find some people that you want to be like. And so, it's all in surrounding yourself with the right people. And, I, you have to go through a challenging experience, and you got to fight through it, and you got to stay positive, and continue to self-educate yourself. I didn't go to college. I did practical experience to gain experience to move forward. So, I learned also to find some books to read. If I was interested in an area, I'm not an avid reader. I'm not going to read stories. I'm going to read something that is concerning what I want to do and where I want to go. But surrounding yourself around with some positive people that have done great things, will help you definitely with a stepping stone. And if they see that you're grinding real hard and you're working real hard, they're going to open up a door here and there. Because we all came from somewhere. And, if like myself, if I've been helped by, I can name 10 people that have helped me. About 3 people helped me beyond the normal help, because a lot of people know that you're going to compete with them and they're afraid to help you because you might just one up them. But the guys that I surrounded myself with were so comfortable in what they have done that, and they were such big, great individuals in the business world and in the game of life that even if I tried for 20 years, I don't know that I could pass them. But instead of being jealous of where they're at and what they were able to accomplish in their tenures, I was like, that inspires me. I'd like to, be something like that someday when I grow up. I'd like to do that. I see this guy, the equipment they had and how is it possible that they're able to do all this work? How can they expand themselves and be able to cover and manage and have all this equipment and have all these people and do all these great jobs? I come from a humbling experience where you had to make the most of anything. So if you got to fill a pothole and you got paid to fill the pothole, you filled the pothole with pride, and you took that opportunity, expand it to a little bit larger size, repair. And, if you do the stuff that nobody wants to do, you'll probably exceed any expectation you ever had. So, whether it be in money or whether it be in expanding your horizon. If you pick something that nobody wants to do, I picked one of the hardest professions in America, building roads. Nobody wants to do hot, dirty, long hour, takes more commitment. I mean, the first time I was introduced to asphalt paving, I overheated, thought I was going to throw up, didn't know if I could do it, but I didn't know how to quit. There was no other options. Nobody else took me under their belt. I rode the bus to work. There was no pickup truck. There was no car. There was no money. There was no phone. There was no money for lunch. No money for for dinner. There was no money for any comforts in life. So you figure out real quick what you got to do to make a little bit of money so that you could buy a blow-up mattress, to buy a used couch, to someday, if you could afford it, get cable TV, and so on and so forth. So humble beginnings it's not always a bad thing. You can sit around and feel sorry for yourself, or you can figure out what you need to do to make the best opportunity out of the least amount of opportunity.
I totally agree with this, and I'm going to reach back a bit to what you said, and it applies in recovery, and applies in what you're saying right now. So I preach to the folks I'm working with in new in recovery, alcoholism. That was my my addiction. Alcohol is people, place, and things. People you're hanging out with, the things you do, and the places you go, and that'll dictate a lot with positive and negative. And you just said it. You hung out with people that you wanted to be like, that might have had a better truck, had more equipment, bigger house. And I tell people, I've had my successes and failures in life, and I got a wonderful wife, 3 healthy boys, and I couldn't ask for more. But it's this whole thing is I tell my kids even that this is all about people, place, and things. And Brendan, my middle guy, is up doing an internship with Middle East Forum with anti-radical Islam stuff within the community of intelligence. And he said, "Thanks for me getting the internship." And I said, "Well, I want to put you with good people because it really matters in life." And I believe that. And that could be, you know, you can get with bad people and it could influence you too. And so I think it's so important, Ernie, what you just said about who you surround yourself with. And Oh, I think humble beginnings. I mean, I got to pinch myself occasionally. I know you do for what we collectively have as far as our families, our health, being the ability to help some people. But yeah, I know about the syrup sandwiches and using tomato soup for pasta sauce and using white bread for everything, a hot dog bun, a hamburger roll, toast. I mean, I get it all. I get the reduced lunch card at school because we couldn't afford, breakfast or lunch at home. I mean, there's not a day, I should think about it more, but it's always in the back of my mind where I came from. This is a very, very funny thing. And, I just went home and not to talk about myself, but, I got inducted to my high school Hall of Fame, and they had these ambassadors that take you around the day before the ceremony. And we walk into school, they met me like, what do you remember at high school? I said, there's the principal's office. I spent a lot of time there. I definitely remember that. So, my high school career was mediocre, decent athlete, but, you know, uh, yeah, I mean, I wasn't a great student. I was an okay athlete, and I got in a lot of trouble, and I had people around me that actually cared, and I'll segue to that. Is like I tell people my story, like, you had no father and your mother died. Where was Child Protective Services? I don't fucking know. I chipped in for the mortgage with my brother and sister, and we kept the lights on, and we did pay for cable because we like watching the New York Rangers and the Mets on TV. But I mean, it's remarkable. Could you imagine what would happen with the school system this day? They found out you didn't have any parents. I mean, back then it was a community. You did what you had to do, man, and you got through it. And then I graduated and went to Navy and never looked back. But yeah, it is humble beginnings, man. I certainly get it, and thanks for framing that the way you did.
Yeah, just can't ever forget where you came from. Definitely don't want to use it as a handicap to keep it from making you who you can become. Uh, just keep striving to do the best you can every day. Uh, there was always alcohol, always drugs available when I grew up, especially in the field that I was at. Worked with a lot of guys that had some substance abuse issues, and the work was hard enough as it was. I was already stupid enough. I didn't need anything to add to any of my inability to learn. And I had a few short verses that I thought every time they cussed that they were calling me. So I didn't want to be called any worse names. So I just kind of kept a level head, kept working.
What
And
was your mentor's name? One of the people you look up to, and you've told me the story. What was your name?
his name is Frank Iodice.
And what was the name
And
he had for you?
well, I don't know that he had the names. Just every time he would curse, I figured that he was talking
Referring
to
to
me.
you.
Yes. So I he didn't particularly name me that name, but he said GD quite a bit, and every time he did that, I thought that he was calling me out on whatever I was doing. And little did I know, he was a POW in
Yeah.
Vietnam, one of the only guys that ever escaped under a lot of pressure. Had gone through his trials and tribulations through work. He had lost his company, uh, you know, because of a lot of external issues going on, and he was one of my schoolmates' father. Gave me an opportunity right out of military school and went to work with him. And I had no idea that this guy's in his 30s, had been through being a POW. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know, he was a recon Marine. And I couldn't appreciate the fact that, every penny that he had went into what we were doing. And it was a gamble, and everything there was no second opportunity. We had to do the most with the least and figure out how to do it with no money. and get it done. And it was his only way to survive for his family and for me. And I'm just a laborer. He's, having to take everything, already having to up against the issue that he had already lost a business. People weren't providing him credit, and he had to pay as he went to do our job. So it mattered. It mattered so much that his family wasn't going to eat. He wasn't going to be able to put fuel in our equipment. Wasn't going to be able to pay the suppliers if the jobs didn't work out and net a profit. So it was pretty stressful for him. Plus having the past that he had. It resonates now to me more than ever, what kind of pressure he was under. And so, it was all good. All the pressure he put me under. I mean, I thought I was going to crack. I didn't know how long I could actually take it, but I ended up working it out for 10 years. And then he decided he was going to move out of state. And, so I went into business for myself. And the rest is history. And we still in contact. I send some of my surplus equipment to Pascagoula, Mississippi, where he's at, and he's enjoying using some of the equipment that I've been able to send to him as a big thank you. It was a thank you to him and what he did for me early on, because he really took a lot of time and helped me hone in on my craft. And ran it kind of like a drill instructor for in the military. So I had my version of going through the military boot camp through paving 101 with Frank C. Idice. He's a legend in my eyes, and he taught me a good bit. And I've got quite a few other guys, Jerry Smith, Ernie Baldwin, and they were all great leaders in the community, gave more than they took for themselves, and certainly employed a lot of people, helped a lot of families, and gave back to charities, and they inspired me to do some of the things that I do. And that's what my legacy, if I had a legacy that I want people to remember me by, is that I gave more than I ever needed anyone to give me in life, that I had surplus, more than surplus, due to my hard work and the people that I surrounded myself with, and never quitting, have opened the doors and the floodgates for me to have more opportunity than I ever dreamed possible. I couldn't dream this big. And I'm very thankful. I'm very appreciative of every opportunity I have. And that's why I want to give back. And, the reason I jumped into SEALs and Recovery after, you came to help protect our company when we were once again doing the right thing, trying to pave at Cop City. And next thing you know, we got Antifa and all these bad guys coming after us.
Eco terrorists.
Yeah, telling us how we shouldn't be doing this and threatening us and burning people's stuff. And thank you for providing us additional site surveys, coming out to our location and showing us how to tighten up our security, and encouraging us that we'll get through this together. And it was really good. And I appreciate that. And your wisdom and sense of security that you provided me and my family. And and then I found out about the SEALs and Recovery. I had experienced firsthand, having my own few kids go through some challenging addiction issues, and never thought that a couple of them would make it through. I mean, they were, in my eyes, really close to, near death situations that they were getting involved in. And, it's one of the hardest things as a parent to go through. So, when you see my volunteer work go into something so inspirational, such as SEALs and Recovery, I am giving it back I'm giving back in the SEALs and recovery community for my dad, my cousin, my sons, my great friend John, which is the president of SEALs and Recovery. I'm so thankful for an operation such as SEALs and Recovery that helped save my boys. And had my cousin got involved in a group, in an organization such as SEALs and Recovery, he might be here today.
We talk about it. We have a list of guys within our meeting room for SEALs what we keep about that we could have helped, that we weren't exist. There was no exist. We didn't have it. I wish. I mean, I think about it all the time. Well, we're doing it, and they're very kind words. But I will tell you, you kids have done a hell of a job with managing their addiction and staying sober. And I know their stories, and you've been kind enough to share them with me. But I know something that you and your wife have done. You have loved them unconditionally through their worst times. And you know how important that is? I go to regular civilian AA meetings. I go to my SEALs and Recovery meetings. And I see all the time that people have given up on these people in addiction. And I don't know how they make it, but how much easier would it be? The work's always hard to stay clean, but how much easier and more beneficial would it have been if they had somebody that loved them unconditionally and was trying to help them and not blame them? But we've shared a lot, Ernie, me and you, and about what you all went through. And I know you kids are grateful. And the unconditional love that you've showed for those children is absolutely amazing. So you have to give yourself some credit for how you dealt with this in a time of crisis, and you had a business to run and bills to pay. And, you talk about pressure, and your buddy that was a POW, it was on you too, and you made it through, and your kids made it through. And that says a lot about yourself and your commitment to doing the right thing.
I can't say that I did it by myself. I'm thankful to have Donna Lopez, my wife, being the person in the background, being supportive, having experienced addiction in her family. Her father, burned down their house. There's a lot of, never any abuse to her physically, but, the mental portion of it. And Dad was the greatest person, when he wasn't drinking, and then just flipped the switch. She lost a sister during this whole process. Had
Shit's real.
Committed suicide. She had to deal with all that. Blame herself, blame their situations. How could she have done better? She's got a brother that never really recovered from seeing that happen to his sister. He's continuing with the struggle. Her mom, I don't even know what she went through, but I'm sure it changed her. She never gave up on her son. And unfortunately, my wife didn't get all the little hugs and love and appreciation because she was pretty strong. She just had to come up and clean up the mess. So she never got invited to the parties. She's always been the mess cleaner upper. And, I don't think personally that I could have probably made it through this without her support. So, I give her a lot of credit for helping me not quit on my sons, not say some of the hurtful things back to them. I give her a lot of credit for being supportive and her telling me, Ernie, we have to work the system. You've got to work the system. It will not work until I went through, and she went through the AA meeting. She went through, the suicide classes. She said, until I went to that, I could not figure out what work I had to do to get through this. She is still working the system today. She helps, counsels my sons, counsels her brother. She's one of those self-serving people that just helps everybody. And, very, very few people help her, what she's going through. But her son is supportive of her, and I'm supportive of her, and we're grateful to have her. Just imagine her brother's inheritance, and her inheritance is all in one account that her mother left solely to her. She's never spent $1 of that money, but she makes sure that her brother's home is paid for. She makes sure that he's able to go to the grocery store and get groceries, and gives him an allowance. And occasionally when he's using, he will have an argument with her about, where's my money at? And I should be able to get all that money and this, that, and the other. And truth be known, if he did get it, he's a great person when he's not drinking or when he's not doing any type of substance abuses, but he would have given it to his friends.
Yeah, of course.
And he would be on the road.
He'd be dead.
He would have nothing. Yes. So, talk about a person that is always there for somebody. She makes sure that he has something to eat. She makes sure that he has a good place to stay. And all he's got to do is do what he's supposed to, stay out of trouble. And, so my hat's off to Donna Lopez. She's
an amazing person. I know your story, and it's doing a great job. Let's segue to something more. Not that this is not positive, but I find it fascinating in the Lopez family, your history of racing, and you've seen all the pictures, and from generationally. If we could talk, for a short time about your racing history and your racing teams right now, that'd be fantastic, because I know that's a lot of pressure as well.
Oh yeah. So back in 1995. Exposed my kids to motocross racing.
Yeah, but it was in your family before 95.
Yeah, well, no. In 1995, it may have been. Yeah, my dad talked about go-kart racing in Key West, and they were always loved to do that kind of stuff. But nobody ever really had any time or money to do any of that stuff. So in '95, I got the opportunity to start taking my kids to motocross. And doing that about 97, 98, we got to go to a national championship race with two of my sons, and got an opportunity to do that. Fast forwarding, we toyed around with some NASCAR racing, grassroots racing with my stepson Dustin, and we worked on that. We're very competitive, and about 2008 lost our car. We'd gone into partners with a sponsor. They took the car, and times got hard. They sold what they could sell. We put everything in that car. It was like, what do you mean you sold the car?
2008 wasn't a good year for anybody.
No, it wasn't. So
through
we
2010.
lost our car. And then we struggled a little bit doing that, and so we moved on to go-karts and messed around with some go-karts, or at least Dustin did, racing around dirt. He played the iRacing on TV, and even did RC cars, remote control cars. And then his father was murdered, and he wanted to get back into racing. So he took himself, put in a shop, and started building a truck, and for healing. So we went back to racing for healing. My sons went back into motocross. as a something that they always wanted to do. Brandon graduated high school, went on to that, and then Dustin became ill. During this whole process, he had bought his first Fury car, and it was helping him. It was the only thing he had to live for him. The car and his kids, and his wife. But when you're so sick, it's a difficult thing. But he did get the race. And it was on his bucket list to do this racing, and so we did it. And when he figured out he couldn't race the cars, Brandon jumped in full time, and we've been racing ever since. And we've had a lot of success. And people had no idea how we got in it, where we came from. We just come out of the blue and started winning. And we had some interesting things happen along the way, having a little faith and doing some praying and appreciating opportunity. And, we before we had excelled at some of our largest things, we had worked real hard, weren't having the best success. Dustin couldn't get in the car. And Brandon being a new driver, we threw him right in a hot pit, with all these, tough racers and everything. He was struggling a little bit. And, it's a surreal story, where faith, came together. We came back to the shop after going to Mobile and figuring out Dustin had a vagal nerve issue through that PTSD from all the dreams and all the medication and everything. And we were like, hey, probably the team needs a break, and we should take a break for a little while. And everybody's like, no, we don't need a break. We need a driver, and we need somebody to get up there because we need a checker flag. We need to win. And he was like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to knock on anybody's door or call anybody. If God sends me a driver, then, I'll put him in my car. 15 minutes later, he gets a call. Hey, did you see this guy put up an announcement that he lost his ride? He's running second in the points in the Cars Tour, and would love to find a team where he could go race. We give him a call, reach out to him. He's like, who are you guys? And we're Bryson Lopez Racing. We got a couple Fury cars, a truck, and would like the opportunity to go do some testing. But, we need a racer guy to go with us. And what do you think? He said, well, let me do a little research, and I'll get back to you about 5:30, 6 o'clock that night. So he calls around, gets some references of what we've done. He said, hey, I'll agree. Let's go test. We went and done some testing. He enjoyed the ride that he had, got into with us, went to the first race, took the pole, came in second after about 95 laps, lost his brakes, couldn't continue to lead the race. They got us the last little bit. Storyline finish. We went to North Wilkesboro, won the championship for the Cars Tour, rode the elevator, which was another bucket list for Dustin, and had so much success. We just went back this past Thursday, went to North Wilkesboro, ran a different car, different setup, and led the race 75 laps and rode the elevator again, and also had the pole. So it was just a surreal experience.
So, for those that don't know about racing, is it like, where does it fall? Like, how many levels below NASCAR or, any of these other, like, I know about Major League Baseball, AAA, AA, single A, instructional league. I mean, I know that. So where in the hierarchy of racing does this fall? And I know the brand names, Harvage's kid's been in there, and some other people, I recognize the name. It's their kids or grandkids. So there's some real talent that you're racing against and real money behind these people.
Yeah, so we're at the grassroots level of racing. So NASCAR is probably like 4 levels up from where we're at. So if you had been racing go-karts and racing kind of midget racing, legends racing, and some smaller stuff, you'd graduate up into the
I hear you. Okay.
super late model area. Our pro late models is kind of where we're at racing, and we actually there's one of the kids that's racing with us. He's racing ARCA. He's in the Chevrolet program. Caden Honeycutt races Craftsman Truck Series, which is also NASCAR.
Yeah.
After he left our team, he went up there and raced that, and he's been bouncing back and forth, catching a race with us occasionally. But you talk about having a 3% chance of winning, and you talk about being pissed off all the time, go racing. You can take a whole lot of
me and you
money.
share texts.
Yeah. You could take a whole lot of money and buy a whole lot of ugly and never win anything or get uh, any gratification about how much effort you put into it. So we'll take any win that we can get. We'll try our best, put everything in it that we can. You can bring the most perfect car, be put in a compromised position, have a wreck, and no matter how great you were at testing or practicing, it will humble you to the nth degree. And but everybody fights real hard to get that, and you only win and you get to absorb that win for about, I don't know, few hours, maybe a day or two, until the next race you go to, and you will be challenged. Everybody will forget what you did yesterday, because if you don't bring it today, you may not rise, to the leaderboard. You may not have a fast time, and you got to be thorough. You got to be dedicated. You got to give it everything you got, just like what we were talking about.
Very
Earlier.
interesting. I've been retired for 20 years, but I still have connectivity through the SEAL teams, with SEALs in recovery and work related stuff. But people call me about going to SEAL training. It's usually kids of parents that I know, and I just got off the phone with one of them, and it's I said, you could be in the best shape of your life, mentally, physically, ready to go, and there's still a lot of luck that goes in it, getting through SEAL training and not getting hurt. And it's the damn truth. It's just like racing. You could have the best car, the best driver, and then somebody else does something and causes you to crash or whatever. And there's a lot of luck involved in it. And you're going to get there. I see how hard you're working. We text a lot during the day about your racing and track some of your stuff, but it's got to be frustrating, brother.
Oh, it is, but it's well worth it. It's a family atmosphere.
Yeah.
Everybody's having to do their part, and you gotta give in where you got. If you'll see one of our 60-foot trucks and trailers running all over America with a 10-inch SEALs in Recovery, sticker on both
Yeah.
sides of the hood.
And you have the
Running up
SEAL
and down.
mobile. You have the SEAL
Yeah, I got
Hummer.
the SEAL.
We'll get that
I got
in
the
this podcast picture. But no, it's an amazing story. No, you're gonna get there, man. I could feel it. You've had a couple rough weekends, and got to put your time in, man.
Yeah,
Because I'm gonna be there on the
absolutely.
29th, and I'm gonna tighten your fucking crew up real quick.
Hey, we would love it. Another thing, I was given this book about a paratrooper's faith.
Yeah.
And I was given this by Colonel Jim Benson. He said, "There's lots of wisdom herein. If this story behind it doesn't bring a tear, you're not you don't have a soul." So I'd picked up a couple of these things. And it says right here, it says John 15-13, greater love hath no man than this, that a man that laid down his life for his friends. And
True.
that's you guys.
Yeah.
There's
Lost a
so
lot of
many
friends.
little things to read in here that Right here, we're going back to what we were saying. It says success in life is a matter not so much of talent or opportunity as of perseverance. And that was written by C.W. Wendell. It's a lot of little inspirational things that you can read to help you tackle, your challenges today, tomorrow, and and read something inspirational like this before you go to bed. Don't watch something that perhaps that will keep you on the edge or keep you, stuck in that gear of negativity or bang them up situations. Get something positive so it'll get you thinking, tracking in the right direction, so that you can end your day with peace and tranquility. Because tomorrow, when you go to sleep and you rest up that night, the next day is a whole brand new day, and everything, whatever you didn't get done the day before, it's no big deal. Tomorrow's another day, and you'll figure it out. Make a pathway and make a good day for yourself every day, and don't let some of your failures in the past, uh, uh, drive tomorrow's happiness. Because it just sometimes you can dwell on what you didn't get right. Get what you can get right today. Done right.
Yeah, we talk about the 5 things you need to do, me and you, Ernie, about what do you need to do, and the rest is bullshit. What very interesting is, like, I love the inspirational stuff from the parachuters book. But
Paratroopers.
paratroopers book.
Paratroopers faith.
So what it is when you jump out of a plane, you look up and say, "Shoot, don't fail me now." But
Yeah,
I,
that's right.
I like how you end the day. I start my day and finish the day, and I've spoke about this in my sober tips. Is I get up every morning. The first thing I do, I say a prayer. Then I pray for the people that I love, including you and your family. And then I make a gratitude list. And then I try to meditate for at least 5 minutes and clear my mind. And I do the same thing every night before I go to bed. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to find gratitude when you're not in the best space. But you do it more, you do it often, and you get better at it, and you could really kind of turn that frown upside down and go to sleep with as clean a slate as you can and actually get some sleep, because guys like me and you rarely sleep, but we try.
Yeah. Yeah. But, don't be so, if anybody's watching this, don't be so prideful that you have to do it alone. Because, there's somebody out there that needs somebody. And, it's nothing for me to answer my phone. It's nothing for me to answer a text. So, if you need somebody, don't hesitate to send me a text. Send Johnny a text, because you're not by yourself.
Right.
And we want to help you fight through this, because this world needs good people. And you may not feel like you're contributing a lot of good, and that maybe you had more good to offer earlier in life, but battle through your little demons. Let some guys like ourselves bring some positivity into your atmosphere for the day, for the night. And you can work these little issues out, and you just got to get back to believing that in that person, because you're the same person, even though your circumstances may be so challenging that you feel that there's no way out, you have nothing to give back. You have no idea how many people are counting on you, how many people need your love. They need you to know that you're loved, and that you could be the next miracle, and you can contribute and help save so many people because you stick around. Everybody has a purpose in life. Everybody has a place that they need to be, and we need to encourage our fellow brothers and sisters to keep a little faith. And just when you think that there's no way out, there is a way out, and there is a road. And I know sometimes some people get out uh, of recovery, and they're lost, and they're not sure where they need to go, what pathway to go. Talk to your brothers and sisters. If you don't have any brothers and sisters, talk to your fellow service members that you worked with. And perhaps if you talk to enough of them, one of them may give you an idea of a pathway to go down. And there's something for somebody everywhere. They're never not. You just got to, the same thing that it took you to get through the training that you had been through and everything. You just need to grab a little bit of that and have faith and go through, because you guys have done a lot of things to help help us have freedom here in the United States. I can leave my doors open and not be concerned because of the contributions that you guys have made for this freedom. And my hat's off to all the fellas and ladies, men that have sacrificed so much. So, it's nothing for us to give a little bit of time and just appreciate you.
Well, you said it. We talk about connection is protection. To pick that phone up, sometime that phone metamorphically is it's a 10-pound weight. Well, we don't have phones anymore. We have a cell phone. It's hard to press that button to call somebody sometimes, but you're right. You need to call and reach out to people when you're struggling. There's no, oh, well, I love all the guys I've served with, even if they're not SEALs, the guys I surround myself with, they love their country, just like your dad and Seth does, who you mentioned earlier. I mean, you do it because you love our country. And that's, I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat. I don't, side with everybody's views, but we fought for this country for people to have their own view. And I think that's lost, not to get political. I think that's lost in translation about, what's going on right now in our country with the divisiveness. But, I did stuff under, from Reagan to Bush to Obama. I mean, back in Clinton and Trump and Biden. I treat my country the same way because people like me and you and your family, my family, and my peers exist in the fabric of our country.
Right. And, I've got many friends that have different views, that support different, political views and, what their families' values are and everything like that. And it's okay. Everybody can have a different opinion, but at the end of the day, we're all American. We all, understand the sacrifices for the red, white, and blue that's flying across our sky. And we need to appreciate all the people that have served and sacrificed so much for us to have, the opportunities that we have. I can't thank everybody enough, and I appreciate this time to get on this podcast. Hope to get an opportunity to do it in the future sometime. I can't wait till we have our leadership training in Watkinsville, Georgia. And I can't wait till we get some of our guys to come out to one of the races. And, we got a fighter that wears our brand, Lamont Roach. Well, let's not forget about him.
No. Hey, Lamont. Hope you and your dad are doing well.
And, he took us all the way to the Barclay Center with pride and, fought a good match. And, he could be sitting around talking a bunch of negativity about not, getting
he's wonderful, man.
The win. But you know what? He's going to go fight another day and hopefully he'll get his payday and he'll continue to help SEALs in recovery as well. And John, God bless you and the work that you're doing. Thank you for everything that you have done for SEALs in recovery. Thank you for everything you've done for Atlanta Pavement and Concrete. Thank you for the support at Bryson Lopez Racing. And what a great human being you are. And thank you for today.
Well, thank you for coming on, and I'll summarize it. So you heard Ernie's story. He went from, not the best childhood. He had some love, military school, gets out of military school, starts his own business. He's underselling himself. He's got one of the biggest paving companies in Georgia. He has a racing team. We didn't mention this. Every Christmas, He assembles 200 bikes and gives them to underprivileged kids. Doesn't matter the color, race, nationality. He does this every year. He contributes to everything. He's a great American, and I'm very, very fortunate to have him involved in my life. So I thank you so much, Ernie, for being a good friend, a close friend, and a colleague, a mentor of sort, and for especially supporting SEALs in Recovery.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right, cool. Well, I hope you enjoyed it, man.
Hey, as they say in the racing world, that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. All right.